people? I hope you are having a good day. You've had food, you've had water, you've everything you need to do. I am opening things. I didn't want to click on that. I was trying to click back on OBS. I got stuff done. We got stuff done. I got the things I needed to get done. So we're gonna honestly kind of jump right on into this and try to finish off everything we can. And I think I've confirmed that I can do what I want to do, and I have a better way to do it than I first thought I could. So we're gonna literally jump right on into gameplay. Let the game actually open. So we got this crop farm, and I realized I could add another layer to it, and we got a second one in. I can just barely fit a third layer up here. I didn't have to remove the roof at all. I did have to put redstone on top of it, though. But that's fine. That's a-okay in my book. And I did do a run-through of a bunch of the onions and let it grow. Let it grow for a little bit. And if you can see at the top, let me show. It's not gonna let me show. At the top of the screen, I have 800. Bingo. Oh, I need to start the bingo again. Yes. Because it is silly. I really need to get better about the thing. It's under extensions. That's what it's under. Let me go over to this. Game log? There we go. Let's stop game, and then we're gonna start up a new one. Stort. There we go. And now I can reload it, I think. Game started? Yes, game started today. Okay. And then, can I keep an eye? I can keep an eye on it from here, so I'll just make sure I have the dashboard open. Why is it not showing it? Can I see my bingo? There's the bingo. Okay. Fantastic. Yes, my chaos. So we have both of our onion farms. For now, they're both going to stay onions because I have way too many carrots. And we can do the final bit of this because that's all I got left to do. This is a little loud. So, oh. Thank you. Now we have to connect up these lovely things, all of these little collection boxes I have about the place. Because there's little storage containers under most of my farms. When I gutted the crop farm, we didn't bother with making a new one. But there is one over here for the rice farm, there's one over here for the creeper farm, there's one over here for the mob farm. And it'd be nice to connect up over here the iron farm, these little things. And connect up those all into one room. Out here. This used to be my old storage room, but since I moved upstairs where it's far easier for me to grab my materials instead of living downstairs because I physically cannot have my portal down here, I am directly beneath spawn. So there's the portal right there. I'm too close to it to do anything. And so that's why my portal is actually out of render distance. And it has to be just a little bit in front of my base. Because that's the closest I can put the damn thing. But now I think about it, I actually have to be up here. Because we need to grab plenty of materials to get this done. Let me pop in through my bathroom window. So I want to do just a tiny bit of testing to make sure we could do this at all. And yes, we can. We're going to use a bunch of spruce trims, and we are probably going to use... I have an excess of these, so we're going to use that. And actually, hoppers. I can use those to get this done, theoretically. And... thinking... Yes, hoppers. I'm probably going to need more, but that's fine. I can absolutely make those. And my brain's still somewhat working over how I could possibly do this. It's gonna be interesting. No, I think I have a way to do it. I think I have a way. Maybe. Perhaps. I'm not sure. We'll figure out something. I'll figure it out. I might have to learn just a tiny... why am I grabbing this backpack? This is not the backpack I need. That just shows you how in my head I am instead of actually playing the game. Let's make ourselves quite a few hoppers to get us through this. At least for the moment. I did not throw that back. Oh, because I can't. Ooh. Hopefully that's all I need. Do I have a... I might have a spot for this. I'm pretty sure I have a sculk chest. Storage, whatever you want to call it. Cabinet. Cabinet, I do. And... that should be all I need to at least get this going. So I think the first thing we gotta do is actually connect up everything to here. I'm not sure how we're gonna work about this from... I might have to go design a thing. Because the current problem I am standing with, aside from I haven't finished the floors of this room because I specifically built it around the cabinets and storage I had here prior, is how do I actually get this all connected? I might have to just make it so it's individual pipes. For some reason my mind was thinking I should connect it all to one controller in here and then separate it out again when I could just send it through to specific piping. So my brain needs to work correctly, and I need to actually execute on literally any ideas. I think first we need to clean this place a little bit and fix it from the mess I've left it in from doing my storage in here. And then I don't actually have a lot of storage or a lot of things that I need stored. I think most of it's going to be probably from the mob farm because it has an excess of random materials. The wool farm materials definitely need to be moved over here. I don't think it's been restocked in words. I would love to have a restock of words, actually. That'd be fantastic. It hasn't been restocked in shears in a long minute. I never finished the damn thing. But I'm pretty sure Axe is working on a project that needs a bunch of wool, so I'll probably restock it and actually try and finish that farm. So I'll add that to my chores list. How does this even look in the other rooms? Let me go to this room. Is that a good example? Yes, yes it is. So these are all one lower than they're supposed to be. Immediately fix that. And then those are supposed to go to the floor, yes? Yes. I'm thinking... Sadly, I think it is really something I just need to do off the cuff. There's not a lot I could plan for it, because my brain is struggling to visualize any possible thing I could do for it. Let's build this back up as it's supposed to be. And then after I do that, then I can fill in the floors and appropriately. Or remove the deep slate from the floors. You know what I mean. I'm tempted to do like little spaces decorated out for each thing. Because that sounds kind of cool. Did I do that? Yes, I did. Oop. I think I need to count out actually how many materials are going to be coming into this place. And perhaps if I even want to move the kitchen over into this room. And out of spruce logs. Or not logs. I have logs in my hand. I'm out of planks. Brain really is fried from streaming so damn much this week. And I admittedly have not really started on editing. I have no idea. I have a mock script up. But I need to finish today before I can even finish the script. And I'm still not sure how I want to actually execute the video itself. I really want to try out animating it, at least like the B-roll portions I need of explaining this thing or that thing. and see if I like doing that at all. I am literally one log short. Is there a log behind this? Yes, there is. Give me that. Yoink. Perfect. And I had 39. I did this backwards. 39 from everything else. So we're gonna separate it out so I know exactly how many blocks I need to bring down, and I don't have to waste inventory space. There's rice, onions, and there's no carrots right now, but that will be a thing later. So I do also need to do, so it's 3 items already. Rice, onions, carrots later on. Gunpowder is another item I need to be sorted. Iron, poppies, preferably also sort the poppies out into a little automatic bone meal farm, so it just makes itself into bone meal. I also need to sort all the mob drops and the wool. So that's 4 from crops, plus gunpowder, plus 2 more from the iron, because that can be just put into a compactor. Plus whatever the mob farm needs, plus 1 more. 2 plus 4 plus 1. So at least 7 things need to get done. Okay. We're just... Up. 39. So 2 stacks and 4. Hopefully. And, wait, hold on, I have walls. So 2 stacks and 4. Don't mind me. And then I need to put aside 4, 8 now. Brain needs to work with me, please. Okay, 16 cobblestone. 2 stacks, 4 stripped dark logs. 16 cobblestone. Pretty much. I know I chose this window, but I chose this window. I don't even need to throw anything in here. Everything I need is on the other side of the house. That is 16. There we go, get rid of all that. And then it's 2 stacks and 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 of that. And then I should probably... I do not have... But I need to get some single. I don't have any. Oh, they're all on me. I need to take chests and take those to make a bunch of single frames. Single drawer. Make 16 of those to start with. I should probably keep the frames on me, honestly. There's a bee. Bee. Oh, right, yeah, I have this menace outside my window. Because a boat got left around the house. Excuse me. Goodbye, thank you. It should be within chunk range, so it will despawn eventually. Now let's actually go get a solid number of all the frickin' materials I need. Or all the things I need to organize. And I'm gonna need a note card because I'm gonna forget every single one of these. And I'm gonna miscount at some point and be very upset about it. And of course that's gonna start running because I'm standing here. So I'm gonna do everybody the favor. We're gonna just nope. Just nope. We need rice. Oh, I do need eggs as well. Rice, onions, carrots. I should probably direct those. I don't have a way to direct those through the kitchen. I'm tempted to move the kitchen. so I can have everything directed into the kitchen. I could probably get away with that if I do it in the back wall. Rice, onions, carrots, eggs. That's a Q, not a G. Rice, onions, eggs. Need to go to the kitchen, so that's 4. So I'm gonna do that in one corner so we don't have to worry about that too much. Then there's bones, arrows, rotten flesh. And then I do have to worry about the words. I do have to worry about like feathers and chicken and such, but I think I could actually do better if I make an unlocked. I don't know. My thought process is maybe I could do an unlocked 2x2 somewhere and have it with a void upgrade. But that's not going to be helpful, so I'd rather just sort it. Because then it'll start collecting heads as well, which is something I don't need. Feathers, chicken, string. And then there's more over here. There is spider heads, glow squid heads, and then spider eyes, and glow ink sacs. And then we know, I'm gonna turn my volume back up. Believe it or not, I don't actually grow sugarcane in here. This is honestly purely for decoration. There's gunpowder from... Why is there a spider in there? I saw that. I'm going insane. The title, I May Be Crazy, was just a reference to a Billy Joel song, not a literal. It was a reference to You May Be Right with Billy Joel, not a literal I may be going crazy. Okay, great. I love that for myself. There's gunpowder from this farm. Technically bat heads, but we don't care about that. I do have to organize it though, because it will clog the system we're going to use. So bat heads. I'm just going to have a 2x2 off to the side with a void upgrade that'll have all the heads. We already did rice and the onions / carrots to be sorted, which just leaves the iron and poppies. Iron, poppies. And the poppies need to be turned into bone meal sorting. And then we also need to consider the room to the right of me over here has wool. Oh, there goes my pencil. Wool to sort. And sugarcane right there. Sugarcane. These are all like mini crop farms. The only thing that could be sorted out would be the eggs from right here. And then this is just temporary storage. So I think that's everything to be sorted. So that leaves 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And 10 from this one. 1, 2, 2, and 2. So we're already at 16 from those, plus my kitchen makes 20. 20 different items to sort. And also, how in the world am I gonna go about... Did I count? I hope I counted these middle bits. I think I did. I hope I did. How we want to organize out each of those. I forgot how much I hated making this crosshatch pattern. I love how it looks. I hate that I have to build it. It is very annoying. Pretty please. Thank you. If you do build it at an angle, it's a lot easier, but getting to a point where you can do that is the annoying part. Because sometimes my brain doesn't actually want to work with the pattern. It goes, you definitely place that here, and is then confused why I can't. Nope. Exactly like that. Don't mind the sound? I'm waiting for said sound. This is concerning. Possibly disconcerting. That would count as a suddenly a thesaurus moment, if that is on the bingo board of the day. And my brain has flubbed the diagonal pattern. That all correct? Yes. There we go. So yes, I did remember. And then grab the cobblestone for the corners. Where are you? You're just over there. So I don't know what sound. I'm assuming maybe you're fighting the wither over there. Okay, I do not have... Oh, this is why we brought some more down with us. Let me do 1, 2, 3, 4. Good thing I did, because I need the full 20. I can do the rice, onions, carrots, and eggs in this one. And then there's gunpowder, bat heads, iron poppies, wool, sugarcane. Heads could all go in one corner over here. How many heads? There it is. There's bat heads, spider heads, and glow squid heads to consider. There's also feathers and chicken. I'm kind of tempted to throw that over here as this, make this like a miscellaneous side. But I could also make the other side miscellaneous stuff. Although this one could be the miscellaneous. I don't know. I know I want iron, bones. I'm gonna start, hold on, let me start marking these, because I haven't marked any of what I'm doing for this at all. Rice, onions, carrots, and eggs are all in the kitchen corner. Let me mark these by where they are on the map, so it makes my life easier. The southwest, the northwest, the northeast, and the southeast corners. So the kitchen is the southwest corner. I should probably throw the feathers and chicken over there, and just make it like a little pantry spot in a fridge, maybe. I think that counts as your bingo Billy Bob shenanigans, race car shenanigans. We can throw the feathers and chicken into the kitchen corner. Northwest right now is the heads, so bat head, spider head, glow squid head, which leaves us with an interesting combination of leftover materials. We have bones, arrows, rotten flesh, string, spider eyes, glow ink sacks, gunpowder, iron poppies, wool, and sugarcane. I could organize these out as mob drops and then non-mob drops. Which means I could also instead put the feathers and chicken with mob drops. Feathers and chicken. I'll do that as the northeast. 12 wither skeleton. Northeast section can be mob drops, so bones, rotten flesh, string, spider eye, glow ink sacks, gunpowder. And yes, arrows are a drop from these skellies. But if I'm looking for arrows, I'm not going to look for them in the mob drops. I'm going to look for them in the non-mob stuff. Even if I know they're coming from a farm, I'm going to think of them, oh, arrows, a weapon. Thank you for the pets. Arrows, iron, poppies, wool, and sugarcane all go in the southeast section. So that leaves us with 5 in this corner. Bones, rotten flesh, feathers, chicken, string, spider eye, glowing sacks, gunpowder. That's 8 in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's all of them now. So mostly, I'm kind of tempted to put the chicken with the kitchen. But I'm okay with it like this. So I just actually have to remember all of this now. I should probably go around and start grabbing things so I can have these labeled and know, like, oh, it's that thing, it's that thing. Grab me an egg. Grab rice. All of these. I might connect the rice one up to an auto crafter, maybe? This one's gonna be over here. Boop, boop, boop. Boop. And then we grab... Oh, I forgot about the iron golem heads. Okay, I need one more then. I forgot that was a thing. For sure. One more. 4. Plus iron golem heads. Which goes in the northwest corner. So we grab a head. Give. Do they not currently have any stock? Oh, there we go. There's one in there. And then I want a singular... Are you empty? Okay, apparently it's all gone to this side. Or some of them go to this side, some of them... I don't know. We have one of each of those, and then I need to run over here to steal... We already did this. We already did this. I don't have to worry about it. I wonder if there's any bat heads currently clogging up my hoppers. Yes, there are. And then I need one of each of the ridiculous things in here. We need one of those. Boop, 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 boop. Just fill my inventory with all of the junk. I literally need one last item. Thank you. And run back over here. So this is the southeast corner, which has the iron nugget, the poppies. I don't have... I can only put arrows in here. And then boop, boop, boop. I'm still putting these over here. Chicken feather, gunpowder, all the normal items that you would expect. And then heads, 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 heads. And then I just need to grab wool and sugarcane. There's plenty of wool down here, though. Excuse. This was made just before we got the storage drawers, so there's still running on a chest system of hoppers. Chest system? Okay, yeah, I said those words, so I'm gonna stick to them. Okay. So now is the fun part of how do I actually want to have this set up? And how can I have it set up at all? And how do I wish to organize this in a pretty way, if at all. Hold on, this is more of a screenshot. Let me make sure I can get all of them in. Yep, okay. Hold still. Ah, beautiful. Perfect. Absolutely gorgeous. That's going in the no contact. And I can now continue to add on to my assortment of ridiculous race car screenshots. While I was digging through my screenshots today, I even found some old, one of the old ones I forgot about. I have one of race cars surrounded by wither skulls. Just genuine wither skulls, not even like after killing the wither boss. No, just normal wither skulls. There it is. Just normal wither skulls. Because this is what he does on a normal Tuesday afternoon. I have quite a few of these. Where is... I know there's another one somewhere around here. Ah, there we go, yeah. This is the hole, this is the pit. It's grown since. I think it's down to deep slate now, or close to it. And then all of us slowly changing into Axe's skin while she was figuring out her mic settings or something. I know there's where's the other one? There's another one. I'm like, okay, I forgot about this. I know there was another one of random race car BS. Apparently not. Okay. Just recent ones. I mean, technically there is also the very glorious caveman on Penguin Head at the spawn tree. But brain's still broken. How do I want to do this? This is literally the last day. This is all I need to get done. ADHD. I know you're horrible at actually finishing any project at any point in time, but I actually need to. That'd be great. That is kind of what we're here for today. That is the only reason we are here today. Kitchen I can make it look like an actual kitchen. That's fine. How do I want to do these is the question. I could just kind of make it look like my things upstairs, but I don't really like that idea. I could make it seem like an actual storage room with storage racks, maybe. A little bit. Speaking of the caveman skin. Also, you're low on health. Do you need some fried rice? Okay. I'm feeling like I kind of want to do storage racks and do cute little storage racks for these. I like that idea. We're gonna... let me go run for stuff to do this. Because then it could be like a literal, oh, just find the storage room. You'll know when you see it. Because half the time I'm telling people, oh, go to such and such room in my base, and they're like, what? I'm like, let me take you there. Let me just take you there. We're gonna grab a bunch of my trapdoors because I have way too many of these. And I think we'll grab my excess spruce slabs as well. And I kind of now want to because I'm I could do oak. I could do dark oak too. Because I just want something that doesn't look... I've been using spruce so much and I have a feeling the crates are going to blend in when I don't want them to. I already have such an excess of spruce trapdoors that I need to use them. I could do it purely as spruce trapdoors, but then I feel like it wouldn't read as a... Let me look at... I played Supermarket Simulator recently, but let me refresh my memory of a storage, shelf. Like, I'm thinking industrial storage shelves. Like, mesh and metal, yeah. There's, like, framed metal. Mesh and metal? Framed wood and metal. I want to do oak. I do have the oak to do so. I don't really want to do oak shelves, though. We do have literal metal trapdoors, but they're redstone powered. I can have some fun with metal curtain rods to make this look better. We can absolutely... You found the thing that broke me. It's been a while since your shenanigans have broke me. That is the one. That... Yeah, that'll do it. I can't with this stupid fucking chicken looking. I'm just gonna drink my tea and attempt to move on with my day and fail. What can we get creative with? What are some cool blocks we have? We have a lot of modded blocks. Can I get creative with those? Can I get creative with those? Maybe. Out of all things to break me, that was it. I definitely want to use the metal rods as part of this. But just a chicken. Just a chicken all about it. We could kind of do light gray curtains. Do I have any light gray wool on hand? No, of course I don't, but I have a bunch of wool, so it's fine. We could probably make this. I probably have some on hand. Yeah, I have a little bit on hand. Let's make... Oh, this is gray wool. I need light gray wool. And then... Not a white curtain, light gray curtain. So light gray curtains can actually hang by themselves. So we could absolutely do this, because it does look like the look I want. The only thing I do need to check is how well it blends with the metal rods. I'm hoping I have extra. I have one extra. Nope. We get a very limited test run of this. Oh, I need to place it like that. The only problem is how the metal rods are placed. Ghost? What? That's not an invisible. Oh, because you're wearing the chicken. Okay, I see. There's the parapets. That would be the correct area I want. Make an andesite parapet. Give me one of these. It may look a little silly, but if it gets me the right luck that I want... Yeah. Yeah. It's a little goofy, admittedly, yeah. Can I maybe... There's a bunch of different states you can pick for this. That one. There we go! There's our shelf! I need way more curtains, but that's our shelf. And this is mostly materials I can collect. I probably have some stuff, maybe. Oh, it should be more than enough to make... Let me make like half of those. I don't need that many. I might need that many, actually, because I need double the amount of parapets that I do. Slabs. You go to add skin, then put in the username R? This is why we keep essential. Is it actually useful anymore? Not really. We've only used the intended use of it once. Shimkin. We cannot tell Misty about this. We need to wait for Misty to get on the server and yes. Yes. We are in agreement. Yes, okay, fantastic. Oh dear. I can't wait. I can't wait. I need her to log on tomorrow. I don't care how or what. I gotta hope, or I cross my fingers that she, for some reason, she doesn't usually log on Saturdays. I gotta hope that she logs on Saturday. So I could get this in the video, because I would love to have this in the video. I will derail the entire way I'm scripting this just so I can get this in the video. I will do that. Because that would be amazing. That would be the greatest goddamn thing ever. Let's do that. That should be more than enough. Question is, can I actually craft that much? Like gray wool. I don't have a single black inks. I don't have a single piece of black dye. And I don't have any ink sacks. It doesn't seem. I have one ink sack. Hey, race car, you wanna go kill a bunch of squid? I suddenly need inks. Why are you a cow? I see that in the top left-hand corner. Essential has given you way too much power. Oh, thanks stars for looting. Oh, thanks stars for looting. Oh, luck is on my side. I already have 13 and I've killed 17 and I've killed 4 squid. Oh, fantastic. River, do me good. Thank you. Give me this squid. Bonk. Bonk. That was poor drops. Oh, nope, I just haven't picked up some. There we go. 17 to 32 with 8 squid. So about like 4 per kill, which seems about right. I think you overshot a little bit. I'm going the wrong way on the map. Oh, there's squid over there. Okay. Hey, bunk. Yeah, but should only need like a stack and a half because it does double up when making light gray, or even like triples up. So I might actually not need that much. I need more white dye than anything, but I have plenty of that. So I think a stack should be more than enough. Honestly, just let alone killing this population should be good. There's like 6 squid over here! 7! I miscounted! Oh, fantastic. Yeah, bonk. And there's even more spawning. This is the perfect spot. Hey, I got a squid head. Nice. This would literally be the perfect spot for a squid farm. Actually, maybe not, maybe not, because you'd have to, drain such a large area. But otherwise, if you're doing a manual squid farm, that'd be cool. That should be more than enough. I got a stack and 11. And I've already forgotten I have pee. Jeez, it's been an hour? I've barely done anything. We're just getting... Okay. I gotta pick up the pace. I gotta pick up the pace. I'm gonna make a stack of that to get started. Which I can't even actually keep up with. Or do I have... I think I have... Yes. So let me, unfortunately, put away the squid heads. They're adorable. I love them dearly. So we make a bunch of gray dye, which then can be made into even more white dye. And I need even more white dye. Which then makes even more light gray dye, which should now be enough for a... Put away all the gray dye. For all of the light gray wool and... Frickin'! Kudos on that one. Yeah. Very clever, very well planned. Good. 10 out of 10. No notes. You have combined all the methods and made something fantastic. Very good on you. I respect it. We'll figure out further decor when I get downstairs. Oop. It doesn't help there was an actual real creeper outside. So it also sold it even more because I thought I looked up at the compass and saw a creeper. And then I see a creeper next to me. The perfect amount of stuff combined right there. Okay. So I'm just gonna randomly assort these into a couple of... I do need a whole spot for purely... Oh, watch streak, nice. I do need a spot purely for the poppies, so I can also organize poppies into a bone meal thing as well. So let me put a temp block real quick, so I can throw poppies even higher. And then... and then I can hook it up to a quick bone meal thing, which can also give us a... bone meal... words. I want them. I would like to have words. I don't have them though. They are not here. They do not exist. Connect them up to a bone meal storage thing. Drawer. There we go. That's what I want. I'm gonna set this one up just a little bit. I feel like I need them to at least be a block up. So I might throw... I want to throw one of these up just a little bit higher. Nope, give. Thank you. Want to get Misty with that skin? You definitely could. She may be very pissed, but you definitely could. I feel like I'm not gonna perfectly hook up the poppies into this. I might instead just set up a quick bone meal farm somewhere in this near vicinity. So it's not completely automatic. You'd still have some backstock of poppies. And then boop, boop, boop. Throw the excess iron golem heads. And then throw these over here, and then I can do this and do that for these guys. As long I kind of want just a little bit between them. Oh, I did. Yeah, I turned the way that one was facing. So it was easier to grab from. Because as long as I have 3 blocks in between them, that should make enough space, because we gotta remember I'm also putting the parapets in front of these. Kinda wanna move this one forward so I can have the full vision of these storage shelves. And I need them at least, like, somewhat separated as well. So I can actually properly change out all of these. Oop. So I can properly organize them and make sure they're different. Yeah. Words. I want them. That'd be great. So I can make sure they're all different pipes. They're all their own different little systems. I do think I need to move one over, so we will actually put the chicken in over here with the kitchen. Yeah. And we're gonna ignore that this don't quite work as shelving. I don't care. As long as it somewhat sells it, that's fine. I don't need a whole lot of these. I want to make sure they go out. They're all about the same. What is that? Is that the Ender Dragon? Yeah, okay. Are these... They're not the same, but that's fine. So then I wouldn't have room to walk through here if they were the same. Yeah. Just do that. You know what? I will make this one. Hold. Just to sell it. There we go. Found a weird skin? What makes it into your dictionary definition of a weird skin? I am very curious. Is that just a villager of blue eyes? He looks so sad. You know what? Statement retracted. Yes, you did find a weird skin. I'm like, oh, is it the blue eyes? No. No, it's just something a little bit different to that. Just a little bit. It might not be the blue eyes, guys. It might not be. Just a thought. Perhaps it isn't. Nope. They're directional, and I can't place them when I'm standing in the block. Great. Oh, bat. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun. What? What? What beat bump did I pull out of my ass? That is not the Batman theme. Honestly, I should add a phrase to the bingo board, and it's just if I mention ass at all. Oh, that is just Batman. That is just Batman. I don't know shit about Batman, but I think that's Dark Knight. Specifically. It seems like it. Or at least one of the original Batman costumes. Not the original, but like the game's original. I need this to be a little bit taller. And a little bit different, because it's a little too basic. Yeah, it's fine. Also, I finally remembered for once to actually make my music full screen before I start a stream. So for once, the Minecraft parodies are playing without a problem. Instead of getting very upset at me because it's YouTube music. It's YouTube kids. Shut up. There are some songs that insist are YouTube kids because they just so happen to show up in a kids movie or something or other. So that is an interesting skin. So I can't listen to I want to be on the cover of the Rolling Stones, or I think the song's literally just called Rolling Stones. I can't listen to that without it being upset at me that it's a kid's song. Because it just so happens to show up in a Muppets movie. You can't tell, I'm quite upset about this. It's very annoying. I couldn't even add the damn song to my playlist because it just so happened to come across. I was listening to my full playlist and I didn't realize I didn't have the repeat playlist in there. So it started giving me a bunch of songs and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this song. Wait, when did I add this song to my playlist? When did I add this one? And I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I'm getting songs I never had before. And I had to change to a different song in order to add that one to the playlist at all. Because it's for kids. So obviously a kid's listening to it right now. So a kid isn't allowed to touch any of the goddamn controls. And there's no button to say, hey, I'm not a kid. I am just listening to a good song. And for some reason, they don't have these kids control BS on the Gummy Bear song. But no, they're gonna put it on Happy or whatever the song's called from the Trolls movie. That wasn't originally the Trolls movie, and I will always be somewhat miffed at the Trolls franchise for stealing that song. What? Interesting. But no, it's definitely gonna throw it on Cover of the Rolling Stones. Which definitely doesn't have, adult jokes thrown here or there in it. Definitely not. And won't let me listen to my Minecraft parodies without being super upset. That's great. There's another, what song? I was listening to a song today that insisted, oh, this one's for kids. You gotta have it full screen, it's for kids. I'm like, no, it's not. What? I can't remember what it was. I could not tell you. Oh, that's a cute skin. I think I need to, instead of doing this row all the way to the end here, because the problem is these cross over, and I can't do the curtains here. So we need to figure out how to better organize these. And I think that means I need to just move over the one on this side, so I have the room to do this. I can't. Give me, thank you. Guess who this is? No idea. I not a clue. I know who that is. Can you build it? Oh, right, I gotta do these as well. Oh, I could do... Oh, I need to do the parapets right there. I got caught. That means I also gotta do it on this side. And that also means I gotta change this a little bit. Thankfully, I can fit all of it in the same spot. Just gotta move this over a little bit. Okay. So that should be properly fixed now. I don't remember what song it was trying to tell me was for kids this morning. Does it keep... Does specifically YouTube Music keep a history? Yes, it does. Well, can I not scroll? Am I not... Am I not allowed to scroll the list? Oh my god, I'm not... What? Oh, there... I don't know why my scroll wheel isn't working. What was it that I got upset at me? I don't... I swore it was today that it got upset at me, but I don't... I have a very strange list of songs that I have had played today because I was just listening to my full playlist on shuffle. So in order, this is all I've listened to today. Technically this starts with, I have a white noise I listen to, and I run it through YouTube Music to sleep. It is 2 hours of 13,000 hertz, and it covers my tinnitus. It is fantastic. If you have tinnitus, there are channels out there that make white noise specifically for tinnitus. The 13,000 hertz one sounds like crickets. I love it. I had Moondance by Van Morrison, which I know doesn't. It might have been Owner of a Lonely Heart. Then Spy. Are You Gonna Be My Girl? Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal, which I definitely don't think it was. Here Comes the Song. Mamma Mia. Riders on the Storm. It might have been Riders on the Storm. Dissolve, All Eyes on Me, aka the Bendy and the Ink Machine fan song. Goodnight, Sweetheart, Goodnight, which is a really old song. If you know it, kudos to you. Good Little Girl, which is from Adventure Time. The Bottomless Pit, which is from the Spirited Away soundtrack. You Really Got Me, Van Halen version. Buttermilk Biscuits by Sir Mix-a-Lot, and Love Potion number 9. It might have been Love Potion number 9. I'm not sure. My top 2, I think it probably is either Riders on the Storm for some reason, or Love Potion number 9. Either one of those, honestly. I doubt it was All Eyes on Me. It could have been, though. It's one of those. I don't think it's anything else. That sounds right, anyhow. YouTube Music is very weird, and I am not a fan. And as per normal, YouTube Kids doesn't actually help kids, it just makes everybody's lives harder. Because instead of, you know, actually teaching internet safety, we just make it way harder to be on the internet at all. I think it's safe to say that's not really a hot take. I think that's just kind of a fact at this point, unfortunately. Let me scooch around you. Place more of these. I am so happy. I'm finding so many weird ways to use the things. This is specifically Macaw's Windows. For some reason, Macaw's Windows, I'm finding a lot of weird ways to use the things that already exist. Because I've already figured out upstairs I was using the metal, or the rods, the curtain rods from that, in order to make planters. Then when we were doing amalgamation, I used the gates with the windows. The curved gate, you can make a really cool, like, cottagecore-y window with it. And now, I'm using the curtains and the parapets to make storage shelves. For some reason. Because this works remarkably well. And it's kind of interesting how well that works. I need to just start doing build. I need to do like one of those build trick videos, but just for modded items. And be like, hey, you know those curtains from this mod? Here's a few ways you can use them that you wouldn't expect. It blended everything you said together. Oh no. Voice chat just broke casually. Ever so casually. We're gonna ignore that the shelf is now clipping into this back wall. We're just gonna pretend that they cut out the back wall for the shelf to clip, for the shelf to sit there perfectly. I can't do that on that side, so this side I'm just gonna do this. I wish there was a better way to, like, I'm very happy they don't make it different recipes, but also you have to go through quite a few phases to find the curtain you need. I almost wish there was, like, kind of like the armor poser thing we have. I wish there was just a menu where I could click on it and go, I want this version of it, please, thank you. I'm very happy to send Misty a screenshot of this, be like, look, I found a new thing! She's gotten many screenshots from me at this point of like, oh my god, I found a new way to use the mod you convinced me to add to the server. Yes, bingo counted stutter. Oh, nice. It's bound to happen eventually. I don't even remember everything I put on that. Because a lot of them, a while back, I did make a genuine video bingo meant for the videos themselves. But I just haven't used it since that video. Oh, there they go. But I did steal from that in order to make the stream bingo. So I don't remember everything I put on there, because some of those, like, don't quite cross over correctly. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to start adding my own things. There we go. Storage racks. That looks scarily correct. And fits in remarkably well for not being part of this correct aesthetic at all. Wait, what is race car chaos? Counted wait, what is and race car chaos. Oh, nice. When did it? Oh, wait, the when I looked up storage shelves, yeah, that would be a wait, what is moment. I love that I can just casually say that in the streams. That's a wait, what is moment. That doesn't sound like a correct sentence, but it is. And now all I have left is we're gonna design a cute. Oh wait, hold on. I have to design a cute little kitchen, and then we actually have to connect all these up. And oh, we're not too far in. We're not too far. So I have no idea. Oh, fun fact: cooking pots don't stack. Oh, he probably had a BRB. Cooking pots don't stack. So this is gonna be fun. How do I want to do this? I probably need to first off. I crafted so many curtains. You know what? I'm gonna extend those shelves so they're ridiculously tall, and I can put some of the actual things that are in those shelves in the containers as decorative blocks above them. I can't do this with everything, so like I can't do a thing of rotten flesh, but I could probably put some barrels up there or something like that. Maybe zombie heads if I have any. I don't need more curtains. Oh wait, no, I do need more curtains. I need curtains exactly for that. Oh yeah, for the Windows thing, I'm pretty sure I can show this off real quick to show what I was talking about. Why don't I have Windows? Why don't I have Windows? Oh, because they'd be in here. Do I have spruce windows to do this with? Yes, I do. So what you can do with the curved gate, do I have any more curved gates? No. Okay. Curved gates, they are directionally placed, so I have to do this correctly. They're not only like this, I thought maybe it would be cool to do it like this anyway. They actually change when you stack them on top of each other. So now you can make a cute little arched window with them. And I discovered this in Amalgamation. I'm very happy to know it. I need more oak slabs, which I do not have, so we shall craft instead. Okay, boop. Fantastic. Thank you. Gonna craft... we'll just craft all that. Yeah. And I will need more parapets. 1, 2, 3. Should be enough. And then grab a little bit of that. And then craft a parapet. What? Framing table? Craft a parapet. What is frame table? What does it do? What does a framing table do? Storage delay? What does a framing table do? I did not want to click that. I wanted to click on it. No, this is storage delay, not storage drawers. Pardon. Storage drawers. What does the framing table do? It doesn't show the framing table in its showcase. I guess I'm making a framing table. What does the framing table do? I do not understand this. I'm gonna wait till someone who actually knows what in the world they're doing logs on and can actually tell me what in the world that is. I think that is another what is moment. That would just be another what is moment. me have reload. I want to see the game. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to work the bingo. I don't know where to put this either. Don't I have... Yeah, I have a random workbench in here. Let me just throw this up here. I have no idea how to use this thing. That's not how I wanted that to be placed. At all. Give me. Give. Thank you. And then I place there. Thank you. I now have a random workbench in my house that I don't know how to use. Ain't a clue. Not an idea. Not a thought in these eyes. Got bingo? Oh! What was the bingo? Let me see if it'll actually let me see it. I have no idea how this thing works. Because all I can see is status active and game log, but none of those things actually say anything. It just says game started. I have no idea. Let me open my own stream. Maybe that will actually show me this thing. Let me mute tab so I don't have to worry about it. Let me, I want to see the bingo. Show me the bingo. So does it just accept it? I don't know how this thing works. It's there though, I guess. Yay, we got a bingo! Alright. Cool. Oop. Wait, what is and stutter? Alrighty. Yeah, I got a bingo this stream them. I'm tempted to make it a 5x5x5, but that might be too much. Or do like a 4x4x4. Going for a blackout? I wish you the best. I think it generates it differently for every person because I didn't have... I had wait what is, but I didn't have the other ones. When I opened it up. So I think it might be per person. I'm gonna make even more. Should be all I need for the moment. And boop, and boop. And we go back. Oop. And there he goes. I should have everything. I just have to do a silly way of putting these. That is not how I need to do that. Like how it might be hard because of the random luck. You never know. I have some weird random bullshit happen sometimes. But we will see. Random luck, I feel like on a building stream would be I end up having the perfect amount of materials by pure accident. I think that's the only way we're gonna end up with random luck on one of these streams. Let's do these 5 tall. I think that's fine. That shouldn't be too much. So you just kind of gotta hope that I have the exact amount of materials necessary. But we will see. Did I never used the backpack. I don't know why I'm still holding this. Out of here. Boop, 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 boop. Flying is allowed on the server. Yeah, it's silly. It's silly. It's goofy. It's yuck and all over the place. I forgot about my tea again. Delicious. It occurs to me, I actually have the live music really quiet. Let me turn that up a little bit. There you go. Turn a corner and there's just a duck face in my face. 1, 2. Boop. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, that's it. Now you can fit in with the adopt crew. You can actually fit in. You can fit in with the adopt me jail. Oh, hold on, my place. There we go. Say cheese. Perfect. That's another one for the no context. Don't know what's going on again. That was very worthy of looking at what was said in the general chat. I look over to the Passion SMP general and the chat has one message, and it's Racecar saying, "Just scared Mew." It has occurred to me I have now left Racecar in the jail. I assume he could probably get out anyway. But I think it's funnier that I just left them there and I'm not actively going back to save him, despite knowing that I have. Give me that. Unless he's just content to chill with the foxes. Did I do the parapets on the other ones? Yes, I did. Oh, there he is. Yoink. And I'm gonna place a parapet and then ruin my columns. I need to restock my rockets. I'm gonna run out. Chicken. I want to get those chicken socks. I want to get the chicken feet socks. I need to go buy those for myself. I want the chicken feet socks. I want the silly, goofy chicken feet socks. That sounds fantastic. I would love that. Nope. Please. There we go. And there we go. I have 3 chicken skins. Oh dear. Legs are so silly. And then boop. 6 duck skins. Okay, yeah, that's fair. 2 Muse, because I have 2 skins. You don't have... I don't think even I have... Okay, that's a lie. I do have my older skins. If I open up the Minecraft launcher, I have them. But I do not actively keep them. You could probably look on the MC user website, whatever it is. My name MC, I think. And I think it should show all my old skins. And the horrible variety of MutationCIP skins when I was a pink blob. Because I had a lot of different skins during that time. Because it was the vast majority. I've only been a Skelly Bat for like a year. Not even a full year, actually. I've been a Skelly Bat for like 6 months. The entirety of this server. 6 months, I've been a Skelly Bat. It's actually not that long. Especially if you only have seen my YouTube videos. It has not been a very long time that I have been Skelly. I'm very happy to be Skelly now. I much prefer it. But the pink blob is gonna stay dead. I ain't reviving that little shit. Although it wouldn't be a hard skin to remake, the old-fashioned pink blob was literally just completely pink, magenta pink skin. and then I had a green socket with a green sclera? I think that's what the back of the eye is called. I can't jump on this correctly. A green sclera with a white eyeball, and for I think a good year or two, I actually had the icon incorrect, and so it had a normal white eyeball and a green eye, which I think I eventually changed. So I did in fact have a normal white eye with a green backdrop. But Mew went through so many iterations, and I think one day I just need to share all the sketches I had of trying to redesign that guy until I said fuck it and completely went back to scratch. I'm like, okay, what do I want to be? Instead of trying to make the pink mushroom work. Fun fact, I didn't tell a soul that I was changing Mew until I did. I did like half of these incorrect. There we go. There we go. Are any of these other ones incorrect? No, good. I do like these as taller ones much more than the short ones. How hard is it to bang my head into the... Thank you. Bang my head into the top of the shelf. Boop. No. Boop. There we go. Yeah, I'm very happy. I wasn't as bug of a fan of the first iteration of Skelemew. I'm very happy with what we got going now, though. Because I think the very original idea... I did originally go with the actual skull colors, which is what I have now. The deep dark colors. But then I desaturated them heavily. I never did the sides of this side. And so that's how I got the really blue looking Mew for a hot second there. That was like 1 or 2 videos, and I think about 2 odd weeks or so on streams. A little longer than that. It took a while for me to make the VTuber. Because the first few odd PSMP videos are the blue Skelemew. Before I fixed up the colors and went semi-skelly, and now I am just full skelly. Because I did have a lot more skulk to my character, and the idea was it was kind of holding the bones together. But now I'm just like, skeleton. Minecraft has skeletons. I'm just a bat skeleton. Revived with skulk. It's fine, it's chill. It is what it is. And so the skulk has just replaced a few furry parts. I said what I said. And last one. You better hope that I get something perfectly correct, Billy Bob. I have not looked at my inventory. I've only been pick blocking. You just gotta hope that I have enough extra, but I don't think I do, because I'm holding like a stack of each thing right now. I could make one little storage shelf. I probably should make a storage shelf for the other thing, though. And then I could do a small kitchen setup there. But I don't think even that would use up all these materials I got. Perfect. Nice. Yeah, that looks way... Oh, hold on. It'd be better if I actually finished changing the states of all of these. There we go. And oh, you found the poor guy. The poor bro. I think I still have, or Essential still has my Pokemon trainer Mew. What I've nicknamed him, because he looks like a freaking Pokemon trainer. Yeah, it still has my Pokemon trainer one. Yeah, that guy. This ugly mug. Oh, nope. Where's my skin? There we go. I have too many skins in here now. Oh yeah, that one was one of the first times I tried to redesign him. I'm very happy I ended up with the snout. I really like the snout. Oh, when I tried adding Skulk, that was the first time I tried including the Deep Dark in the design. And there's actually supposed to be, I couldn't ever get it on drawing, and it was one of the first details that got dropped. But there's supposed to be a 4-leaf clover on the pocket. On a pocket of the button up. How do I want to do that? You know what? We're gonna make like a... words. I would like to have them. I don't have them. Like a place that they make fun of it all the time. A place where they cook in front of you. I want to make one of those kinds of grills. And then I could just have all of these off to the side. You know what? I could have the chicken and eggs near each other. And then I can make them like pretend fridges. Let me flip this off to the side. Oop. Do that. Nope. Pot. Oh, that's adorable! I love that! That's so cute! I'm a sucker for, like, the city-type skins. The city Minecraft skins. I know it's been kind of considered a cringy era of Minecraft skins, but I genuinely do love the aesthetic of them. And then time for all the frickin' parapets. Perfect. I forgot I need to put these. Oop. Underneath the— no, that's the wrong thing. That's the wrong thing. All the wrong things. All the wrong things in all the wrong places. There we go. And excuse, but. Thank you. Can I perfectly click like 20 times to the correct state? Why are there like 3 pixels right there? There's 3 pixels. I can count— that is 3. Just at the bottom right-hand corner of it. What's that about? You know, I have a thought. Can I use these leftover curtains? I'd be better to use the gray— to use some gray curtains. I want to see if I can use the curtains to make a walk-in fridge. What door could I use for that? Hold on. Door. Because there is the metal door. I would prefer not to. Because then I'd have to probably set up some— I could do a garage door. We could do a silver garage door. I think I have extra of those. Because those ones you can actually open. The metal doors are basically just retextured iron doors. They function the exact same. Otherwise, I could do acacia bark glass. Is another option. Pale bark glass door might fit in better, so I have to try each of those against it. I don't think the garage door would fit in the way I want it to. What? Why can I see the lack thereof of guts? Why does your Minecraft skin have scoliosis? What is what is this? Your arms have it too! One arm is unfinished. The other arm's perfectly fine. They just never did the front of the torso or finished this arm. This is why you check your layers. It doesn't matter if it's a Minecraft skin editor, you check your layers. I know I've made that mistake too many goddamn times. Gotta check your layers. Bonk. Oh, there we go. Not quite. Okay, we have a little bit of gray wool to work with. But 6 feet apart? Is that a quarantine skin? Is that just like a little quarantine outfit? I'll come back downstairs in a second. Just get a few more on standby while I'm gathering stuff that I need. Because I will find a way to make a walk-in fridge. I will. Ow. Wait. You ready for your luck? Because I just found it. Let's see if 24... I had the perfect amount of gray wool to make exact amount of curtains. Hopefully. Maybe. I'm not sure if that's going to count as a perfect luck just yet. Well, we will see. But it might just be. I don't have any log. I do have logs. I don't know why I haven't thrown them in here, so I know I have logs. So I want 2 of those, and 2 acacia logs, so we can see how well this does. Gonna grab a bunch of this. We're gonna make first an acacia bark door, and then a pale bark door. And we're gonna see how the color compares to the gray curtains. Not bad, but... I need a side-by-side. So, the pale bark matches the hue better, or the tint, I think is the word I want. The pale bark matches the tint better, and the saturation. But I think the acacia matches the hue better. So do I want to go tint and saturation, or hue? Tint, for those that don't know all the words I am saying and what those exactly mean, saturation is like on a scale of red to blue. Hue would be a slightly different but similar scale of that. I can't remember the correct colors that correspond to it. And tint is more like a black and white scale. So the bark door is a little darker and it's more blue, but the door on the left, the acacia bark door, it matches the blue in a different way. They're on 2 different ends right next to the blue. Too bad for you, I was looking at my monitor. I think we're gonna go with the pale bark. I like that one a little bit more. And boop. And then acacia door is gonna go over here. This is gonna go back in. I'm trying to think of the things I need to do and how I can do them. Let me look at a walk-in fridge. Walk-in fridge. This is usually something you'd install as one unit. Let me look at it. Let me look at shopping images, actually, to see what that would look like. Okay. So this is literally just a chunk of metal. There are white ones, though. I could have done that instead. Is there... Let me look at doors. Because I could do a just normal pale oak glass door. And then I could do white curtains instead. Which would be slightly more walk-in fridge-like. So I'm going to ignore all the materials I just wasted. And we're instead going to grab... I don't need that many. I just need like a stack of this. I have 48 curtains to use, Billy Bob. You're going to have to hope that somehow I manage to use all of those to make my walk-in fridge. Then I need a couple of these. I think it's 4. I think it's this. No, it's not. What is it? What is your recipe? It's glass panes, you piece of... I am so curious of what that skin is when you get back. I am so... Okay. Anyway, let's use pale oak, because that gives me more options on how I want to do this. Okay. Parapets. Do I have a pale oak parapet? Yes, I do. So then I also want to do... We're gonna grab some of these. We're gonna make... They didn't change the name of this, apparently. And then I just need a little bit of frames. I don't remember how I'm... Or trims. How do I make the trim? That's how I make the trim. Not that one. This one. I want a little bit of that. I also want some parapets. Let's make 10 of those. That should be fine. And then we're gonna make some of these into that. Is there anything? I don't think there's anything else I need. That should be everything I need. Okay, hold on. Yeah. I want to make some shelves as well. And try and use those somehow. A few more. Just a little bit more. Hello, cat. How are you? How are you, sir? Hi. You wanna come up here? You sit in your nest? You're not getting treats. No. No. He's glaring at me. He's giving me the stare. Like, you're going to give me treats. No, I'm not. He doesn't need them. He has his treats once a day. He has food right below him that he knows is there. Is it low? Is that like... Oh, actually, yes it is. Hold on. It is low. Here you go. Here you go, dude. Go on. Go on. It's right there. I refilled it. Wait. Here. There you go. Wood. Don't look yet? Okay. I will do my best not to. Dusty, the spoiled shit. He made me refill the bowl and then I had to put it in front of him. I am trying not to look. I'm going to turn. Oh my god! I love that! I love that so much. It reminds me of the stupid little Easter toys. The ones that are literally just a ball of fluff with like some plastic glued on. It is exactly that. If I were to render it in pixel art, this is what it'd look like. Maybe a few pixels off to the side with a second layer, but that is exactly it. That is exactly it. Okay. Walk-in fridge time. We're gonna take away this. I could do oh! Oh yeah, it is a little mask, ain't it? They didn't do the bottom row, though. I'm gonna grab some... I probably have some ice. If I can do... I saw that skin change. If I could do a very detailed floor, I'm going to try to. I don't think I have any leftover ice. What kind of bluish blocks do we gotta work with? I could use a diamond block. I can certainly use diamond blocks. What options do I have to work with? You need some packed ice and or blue ice. Just a few blocks of each would be fantastic. I'm actually gonna... Prismarine would work really well with that. I might run for that. And then I could change to a polished Prismarine. Ooh, okay, yeah. I know exactly where I can get some Prismarine, or steal some, more like. There's a local place where anytime I need specifically Prismarine, dark Prismarine, I run to this place. And I don't think anybody else is quite aware this exists. I think Penguin briefly knows that this place is way out here. But if we follow the contour of this island, right over here, is... Oh, there it is, covered in kelp. This is thanks to our repurposed structures. Just gonna steal Prismarine block. Or it's probably not Prismarine brick, I want normal. I'm gonna grab a little bit of each. Grab 12. But anytime I need, like, Prismarine blocks, I come out here. I've only needed dark Prismarine so far, but... And uno más, por favor, thank you. Uh-oh. Your elytra break again. I would assume. Oh no! The stairs is claiming another life. Which entrance? I gotta know, is the... Because so far the north one has the record, has the high score of 7. Okay, so west is on the scoreboard. That sounds so messed up, but it's true. I'm gonna put that in the no context. North currently has, I think it's 6 or 7 kills. I'm gonna go with 6. That sounds more correct. North has 6 kills. West, 1 kill. East, 0 kills. And the South also has 0 kills. That's the most if you know thing I've ever posted about this server. I want a scoreboard at the end of the server of the kills for each section of my page. Okay. Was it the Prisma? It was not. I can change it back to okay, that's good to know. It was in fact this. I'm happy I went back. I want the polished. I'm happy I decided, hey, maybe it isn't the brick. I have a singular piece of packed ice. And I had... exactly 12 Prismarine sitting in my miscellaneous chest. Wow. Okay. Okay. Okay, Karen, where's packed dice? Do I have a place that I know that has packed dice? Packed dice? No, I do not. I don't know where the heck. Oh wait, hold on. I absolutely do know a place that has packed ice and blue ice. These places out here. We can go to, or no, the pit's over here. I don't think there's any portals really out here. I think the closest is probably gonna be Misty's. And there goes half my food. What time is it? It's almost time. I don't... We're going. We're still going. I don't care. I don't care. I will push everything off to get this done tonight. I don't care that I'm supposed to end in a little bit. I don't. I really don't. I will keep going for another hour if need be. Because all we have done is decorate. I'm supposed to actually hook all of this up. Which isn't going to take long at all, but I'm going to make my walk-in fridge. I gotta curve a little bit this way. That one... Does this one have any ice? Oh yeah, there's a little ice strip up there. Okay. I don't have it fully rendered, but I can see just a little bit right there, unless that's water. That's water. Well, we're gonna go to that mountain and find out for... Oh, hey, hold on. I see that. I see that. I see that. Horrible puns aside. Give me this. Let the ice in a shulker box. Oh, I found some. How do you have to find blue ice? Ice, baby. No, okay, it's a ridiculous crafting recipe. Got it. Noted. Great. I do not easily keep crafting tables on me, so we're just gonna steal a little bit of this, make sure I have enough left. Okay, yeah, no worries. I went and found some. Honestly, with how much packed ice Penguin gathered for the... Oh, there's a portal over here. Oh, what do you know? With how much packed ice Penguin gathered, we probably could have crafted it all into blue ice. And still had more than enough and would have had an even speedier highway. Does this connect up properly? Little bit. Not really. Kinda. Boop. Head right into the column. Drank like none of this. Hold on. I just saw a bunch of chickens. Perfectly covered by chat. There's a bunch of chickens down here. I think this is from the yeah, hi. How many of you are there? Oh, there they are. I think this is from the beginning of the season when we just had a shit ton of chickens around the portal. Well, good to know they're still alive. That barely caught my eye. I'm like, wait. They're still here? I remember them kind of being there when I was, building another network, but... Oh, nope, can't go through that one. That window's blocked by stonecutter. Can't get in that one. Stonecutters are just barely annoyingly tall enough. That is not where I wanted to go. They're just barely annoyingly tall enough. It's the same thing as a bed. For some reason, stonecutters in a bed are just a pixel too tall. Literally a pixel too tall for you to be able to crouch and stand and go under a block with them. Let's do... Boop. We're just gonna turn this into... Can I get away? I can't get away with 12. I think I can do 8. Yeah, it's pretty even. There we go. And now we can go do my frickin' fridge. My walk-in fridge for my... I can't remember whatchamacallit kitchen. I still don't remember what it's called. What is this called? What is this? Get your bingo cards out. What is this? Place where they cook in front of you. Is it Benihana? Hibachi! That's what I was thinking of. Hibachi! It's hibachi! Let me get rid of all this. Yep. I definitely overcollected. It's fine. Let's take this, bonk. Take this, bonk. Because I'm gonna change those over to this. And then we want to boop, 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 boop. And then we're gonna do a boop and a boop. Covered by a boop, 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 boop. So it's a cute little walk-in fridge. We're gonna do a pale door right there. And then on this side, I'm gonna do a boop, boop. And the same thing on this side, we're gonna do a... Might as well, boop. And then we take the chicken, and we take... Or I probably want to put the chicken in this one, because it doesn't matter as much, and then the egg in that one. Did I need to open that door? No. Did I open that door? Yes. You can take the YouTuber out of me, but you can't take me out of the... What? You can take me out of the YouTuber, you can't take the YouTuber out of me. I don't think that's right either. I'm gonna shut up. I don't have quite enough parapets. Do I have anything that can make slabs? Yes. Or sticks, not slabs. Can I craft these back? No. So, never mind, I can't make more parapets. I'm apparently stuck with just this. I think that's probably fine though, because I kind of need to do this. Yeah, that's fine then. And then I want to go boop, 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 boop. Boop, boop. Wait, was that a perfect moment? No, missing one. I'm missing exactly one. Let's go upstairs and grab one. Actually, wait, hold on. That made 16. That should math out correctly. These sides are even. Did I accidentally place one inside of another one? No, it was just that one time. So how did I end up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, because that spot. Okay, yeah. Never mind. You right. I wrong. You right. You right. Get me up here. Bonk. I've already forgotten what I need. Right, shelves. I never claimed to be smart. I only claim to occasionally be a genius. Genius does not require smarts. And I am willing to stand by that opinion. I will happily stand by that one. I don't think it's going to take a lot to find examples, unfortunately. But I will happily stand by that opinion. I still haven't done any of the connection network, but it's fine. Why do I have spruce? I don't need spruce wood right now. I don't need more parapets. I don't need more of this. I don't need more of that. I literally need one more shelf. And I'm gonna need 4... I think I'm gonna need 8 curtains, if I remember right. Wait, no. You were not. Here. You are not here. Yep. Yep. That is... Those were not my food. That was not my food at all. I'm so curious. Okay, no mention of... No one has considered... No context really pops off whenever I stream. Because I suddenly have a lot of things to throw in there. There we go! Walk-in fridge! It's adorable! I love it! I love that. Time to make my hibachi area. Let's grab all of these and place these first. Because geez, this is gonna take a minute. I think I know the configuration I can do for this. I think, if I'm correct. Yes. I'm gonna change this so it goes in a full circle. There we go, yeah. I can absolutely do that. Is it gonna be annoying to actually get into that area? Absolutely. Will it look cool when I do? Yes. Oh! Yep. And give all of these, because they don't frickin' stack. Thank you. And I can just have another one off to the side for the... I can put, like, one of them up here for the bowls. Boop, boop, boop. There is a slight difference of how they're oriented. I could push this all back one. I'm gonna push it back one. It would make oh, hold on, we're gonna do this instead. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Hibachi! I can't. Yeah, I did. I need slabs there. I need to get rid of the stuff in my inventory, at least these. I'm gonna throw like 4 slabs down there. You want to see if I have perfectly 4 slabs in here? No, I have a little more than that. Raw? 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 Are we doing the... What is that skin? What? The freezer changed you, man. The fridge changed you. There we go. Now I have hibachi. Now I have my hibachi station. You want some hibachi? I should cover the outside. I'm gonna put math. I think I need 8. 8? Yes, 8. Spruce shelves there. So I can get up there a little bit easier. There we go. And then I gotta move the merchandise. Yeah, boop, 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 and last boop. Perfect. It does get rid of some of my torches, and it makes this kind of look a little silly, but that's fine. Am I honest? I'm gonna get rid of these. Or I'm gonna get rid of only the side ones, and then I'm gonna move all the other ones to the center spot. Boop. And then point in these spots. Pop, pop. Which gives a little extra my inventory, but that's fine. I think I'm gonna put the bowls in that spot. Or I could hide the bolts with me. Bowls with me. That's fine. No. I think the true hibachi would be throwing this on top of the walk-in freezer. But I'm fine with not doing that. I'm running back and forth a little too much for that. Okay, which one is this? That is rice. Give. Give? Okay. Never mind. I forgot I already had all these, so I didn't need to craft more. Contents sealed? What is this? Oh, you're the bowls! You are the carrots! Give? Carrot? There we go. My 10,000.7k. 10,000.7? 10,000.7 carrots. And my lackluster amount of onions. And then this has to be my egg. Yep, egg. Yep, egg, because it can only draw 16 at a time, because that's how much a stack is. Thank you, Kofi Bot. Oh, because it doesn't have any of the fucking upgrades either. Yep. Yep. How much can I jitter-click eggs? Thank you. Give me the storage upgrades. Let me open this. Open. There we go. Storage upgrade. Yep. All the egg. And then I don't have any of the drawer keys. You see the problem of me living down there? You see what the problem was now? And why I much prefer to live up here? Because anytime I had to go get anything else, I had to do this entire trip back and forth. It was very fun when I was... Oh, you can't... It was very fun while I was building the spawn strip. It was so much fun. So much. Loved it. Not at all. But we're gonna do our best. Okay. Key. Unlock. That completely wiped it. Good. Now that should be locked, and that should be a quantify. And we're gonna quantify, and then a lock. And those should all be locked regardless. These ones are not yet. Lock, 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 lock. Some of these I could probably just switch over because they already have individuals. But I'm gonna just leave them as is. Quantify. I should actually be using drawer keys first, so I make sure I have all these correct. Drawer key, so all of them are locked. Right, you need to be a different type. You have to, I really need you to be a compactor. So I'm gonna steal the currently useless compactor here, because it's not being used at all. And then do it to a quantify. It already is, whatever. And then make sure that these... Drawer. And then I can start putting parapets back. And as I put the parapets back, we add quantities. Boop, boop, boop. I have fears that I may need to do another stream, but I just purely need a hope. We haven't taken too much extra time running around doing this, making the walk-in fridge. I just purely need a hope that we have enough time. And I don't go extremely over the amount. Boop. Okay. This is so cool, by the way. I'm just gonna step back and say that for a second, completely out of any focus. This is such a cool area. I did not think I was gonna be making this today, but it looks so cool. I love it. Anyway, actual important business. I need way more spruce trims than this. We're gonna need so many friggin' spruce trims. Spruce is like the #1 thing I have right now. So it's gonna be spruce. Can you tell what my favorite wood type is yet? It's acacia. And no, I'm lying. It's birch. I still want to use these. I still need all of this. I'm gonna need drawer controllers. I don't need another one of those. I will come back for the upgrade units later. That's not a super worry right now. What I need is just to make a ridiculous amount of trims. I don't remember what the recipe is. 5 of those, okay. Just in case, 1, 2, 3. Am gonna make another batch. Because I strongly believe I'm going to need a ridiculous amount of these. And while we're in between stuff, let me refill this. So now is the fun part where I kinda have to low-key map out how everything and where everything goes. And how everything connects. Because some of these are really easy to map out and put together. The wool needs to cross over this way. And I'm kind of tempted, I really want to pipe these, if I can, directly through the place itself. Or at least, like, make it obvious that I have. I might have to just do decorative pipes, though. I might need more control. I think for my testing, you can't just directly hook a hopper to a trim. What happens if you hook up 2 of these together? Does it start trading things back and forth? If I put you here? No, of course it's not going to. So I do have to use controllers for this, so I need 20 controllers, another 19 of them. Technically, I only need like 1 controller for each thing. Now that I'm thinking about it. As long as I only need 1 controller then. I could get away with 1 controller per room. As long as they're hooked up correctly. I could get away with 1 controller for this rice farm, and then these 2 crop farms. As well as the iron farm. This could be 1 strip. This is another strip. Technically, I only need 2 of these. But I need controllers. But I need controllers to even hook it up in the first... Unless I do hopper chains. I could also do hopper chains, which are far cheaper than the controllers. So if I find a spot that's close to all of these, I can just hopper chain a lot of this. How can I hook up all of these in a succinct way? These are going to be really easy to hopper chain into 1 controller, and they're all going to the same spot, so that's really easy. The chicken's gonna need these 3 farms here, the sugarcane, wool, and chickens. I can have as 1 hopper chained controller, and then they can go their separate ways. These 3 is gonna be a little more difficult, but I could also hopper chain them, and then this is its own hopper chain. It already is a hopper chain, actually. So that's 1 controller for these, 2 controllers. 3, 4. I have 1. I know there's already a controller for this one, so I could just move it in the center of all these. That's the only one that has a controller right now, though. So I only have to make another 2 controllers. I apologize, Racecar, I am locked in on trying to get this done. And then, what is your recipe? Oh, what is your recipe? Oh, it's just this center thing changing. So I need 4 of those. Thankfully, I have a few of those already crafted. Diamond and... words. I always need words. I never have them. That should be more than enough. Give. That's not the right one. Get your cranberries. Get them cranberries. Then 2 more drawer controllers. And I'm gonna have to make a whole bunch of hopper chains. So I say we grab 2 of these. I'm gonna temporarily throw all the trims into here. So I have the room to make a shit ton of chests. We're gonna do boop, boop. Gets me a stack of chests. And boop, boop. Penguin's definitely not gonna approve this method. I don't care. This is what's gonna get it done. If I find a better method before the end of the season, I feel like putting in the time to do said method, then I will fix it. Until then, we're hopper chaining this, so I don't have to make a million controllers. That only got me another stack. Good thing I have a absurd amount of iron. There we go. Should I have turned every single one of those chests into hoppers? Probably not. Did I? Yeah. What's gonna be even funnier is when I use all of them and I have to come back here and craft more. Because I forgot the trims. And I still need these. Do I? I don't need these anymore. I thought I was gonna need to use those. I don't need to use those. My original thought process for how I was gonna have to do this was connect one controller and controller chain things around. Because if I find which one it is, they all look the exact same. Did I not grab the thing I needed? I did not grab the thing I needed to, because I didn't need it anymore. I thought I was gonna have to take these, if I do this correctly. Controller, connect the farms to a controller, connect the controller to a trim chain, and then, where is it? These. Do this in order to keep it going. But even then, that would need a second controller, so I don't know why I thought that, because maybe I thought the trims had a distance, but they seem to work over long distances. So until proven otherwise, I'm going to believe that the trims are going to work the distance I need them to. When this starts not working, then we can fix it again. But until then, I'm going to get this done. Hello, race car. So now the fun thing is connecting it all up. We're going to start with these bad boys first. I think first off I need to just empty this out, aka steal the entire thing. Same thing on this side. We're gonna pop up. Drop. Drop. Give everything, give all of it. There we go. And now we can unlock, or unquantify and then unlock. And I don't gotta worry about that anymore. And the rice farm was already gonna be hopper chained. It's already prepared to hopper chain me even. I don't think I could do this. Can I do? No, I can't do it directly underneath. But I can do it damn near directly underneath. All we gotta do is steal this. And that means I don't need to do it like this anymore. I literally have to stack with hoppers. And now I could throw these in here. Except they're just gonna go straight into that, which I don't need it to yet. Boop, boop, boop. There's gonna be so much hopper chaining, but it's fine. I'm gonna make sure I have access to this. Excuse me, thank you. And that I can actually walk along this and check afterwards where issues are. So we're gonna make myself a little access tunnel here. Where are we? We're standing right here. Okay. I don't know why I put a block underneath this. I really don't need there to be a block underneath it. Where is the spot? This spot. Okay. And now instead of doing this hopper chain, we're gonna do this way. I'm probably, you know what, let's just change it to deep slate, because that's what the rest of it is. Found my misplaced warden hint? Where was it? Make it into some person's house? I don't know why this... I don't know why I placed that there. In one of my backpacks. Yeah, it always is. It's somewhere random that you don't want it to be, but there it is. If place. There we go. Boop. I do have another one over here. So why? I don't know where I have a random piece of this, but I do. Oh. Do that. And then I can... Where did it go? Where? I can't pick it up, that's why. Same backpack that has all my templates. Oh dear. I should probably, instead of mining this with this, I should instead mine this with Little Ham. For once, Little Ham's actually going to be useful. It's a miracle. Because I'm going to be able to, I will want to be able to walk underneath this and really walk around it and check everything out. And do the same thing here. And then Little Ham to the rescue. Boop, 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 boop. Do one extra so I can see behind and walk around the entire thing. Boop. And then continue on our merry way. As much as I can, anyhow. Oh, I shifted. I don't need to shift. I don't want... Why has chat decided it needs to reset? There it goes, okay. Did I lose internet? I don't know. I no longer need this, but I also need to avert it. And I never came back and did this spot. Because that area is going to have its own controller and system that I'm just going to connect up in the center. I think we can just do that right now so I don't have to deal with it later. Excuse, thank you. And then I can just have it as two different things in the same tunnel. So I don't have to redo this again. And then we throw... Excuse? Backpack? Thank you. Throw that in there. Back in them. And then there is a controller way back over here. And another one over here. And so what we're going to do, and all we're going to do, is we're actually going to steal that. It lets me. I'm going to pick it up, place it over there. And we can properly handle these things later. Give me that. Give. Thank you. We're just gonna steal each of these. There we go. And take these accordingly. And this is also connect up to its own hopper chains. Did not need to destroy nearly that much. Don't have... Okay, in order for me to gain more inventory space, we're gonna hook up with this controller over here. So we can have the first crop controller connected up. And then hook all of this up. Nope. And now we can start this row. And as we get over to this, I'm going to change it to the right side. And make sure that it doesn't actually connect. Let's double make sure this doesn't connect by accident. Excuse me. My caves. Thank you. And then controller numero 2. Gonna go. You can keep the pack dice? Alrighty. I will organize it accordingly later. I forgot there was 2 controllers in here, so I don't think I actually needed to craft any controllers. Oh well. I did anyway. I'm gonna continue this all the way over. Does this mess with the stairs though? Am I low enough for that? I'm going to directly bump into it. So once we get to this part, that's when we start digging down as well. Now give so I can mine, so I can do this, so I can get rid. Thank you. And we're gonna do this. So now we have a trim on each side that I should have probably done with different trim types, so I could go look and say, hey, this color of trim or this wood type of trim means this side. But no, I didn't. I didn't do that. I could go back with trapdoors or something, so I can somewhat label this. I don't know. Okay, there we go. There's the floor again. And then this right side needs to connect up. To the carrots and onions and rice over here. Actually, the rice one needs to be run through an autocrafter first. Let me disconnect that. I guess I go blackout. Oh. What is the random luck you have found? I'm gonna disconnect this right here. And do you have anything in? No, you're just collecting right here. Okay. There's nothing for the controller to actually send to. I need... Oop. I need to, cover this up, because I no longer need this here. Unless I can just accentuate. No clue, but all my boxes are grayed out. I have no idea how it works, so I will trust that. And doing this will allow me... Let me do this. Can I? You know what? In order for me to actually get through here, we're gonna do this. I care far more about the aesthetics than any perceivable function. And boop. And I'm hitting stuff by my hand. And then boop. So now we can see when there's a clog. Like slime balls. Which I'm just throwing directly back into that hopper, so I'm not going to bother with it. I have a full inventory. And I know... Hi, Skelly. You are not wanted here. Oh, there we go. And I will keep 2 blocks off the side, and we don't need that last one. So I can have a essential door there. I don't need the random arrow either. And now, while I'm here, I'm gonna grab the packed ice. And we could go upstairs, make an auto crafter real quick. I have like a half hour to do this. Make an auto crafter real quick. Shoot. There we go. I have no idea how I'm gonna edit all of this tomorrow, but we're gonna find out. It might be a slightly laced post. Probably how it's gonna work out. Whip. There goes my head. Shulker in there. Wood goes back over here. A boop, and then boop. Why do I have spruce slabs? Why would I have spruce slabs? For what reason? I don't know. I'm gonna regret it in like 2 seconds. We don't need these drawers. Did I make sure to get rid of the other drawers? Yes, I did. Brain needs to work with me. The autocrafter. Do I not have that? Yes, we do. It's just called the crafter. Dropper, obsidian, no, not obsidian, redstone, crafting table. Dropper? Right? Yeah, dropper. It just seems weird for it to be a dropper. I don't know. And then I have extra crafting tables in here. And probably more around the place. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is a... It didn't take anything, thankfully. So I didn't have anything in my hand for it to take. And then we're going to tell the autocrafter to turn everything to rice. I'm amazed I didn't die in that feat of flying. I don't know what else to call it. I ran out of any other words to say. I think this means I gotta turn all of these down a block now. This is where the crafter's at. So we're gonna do a crafter, or not crafter. Now we're gonna do this. I need my crafter. We're gonna do that. And that... What? Why is there a singular? What? Oh, it needs to be powered. Duh. Does a redstone torch count as power? No. I do that. Ah, what? How? What? What? I don't understand. Okay, forget the autocrafter. Forget it. Forget it. Forget it. Forget it. Forget the autocrafter. We don't care about autocrafters, apparently. I will deal with that later. I will deal with it later. I use observers with a craft. Brain is too tired to consider that. I am just gonna hook this up, and that's gonna be a me problem for another day. I have enough rice to not worry about it for the moment. It's gonna be a problem eventually. Not right now. That's not a me problem right now. What matters is getting this hooked up. I can figure out the mumbo jumbo with that back there. I'm probably gonna have to look up a mumbo jumbo for that back there. And we'll deal with all that another day. I just gotta make sure this is all hooked up right and proper right now. Right over here. Underneath this, that is the rice. And then this one has that. And then we're gonna go a few over for the last one. So theoretically, I don't have anything to prove that this works at the exact moment. Unless it's collected the rice. Has it collected the rice? No, it hasn't. So do I have to do the thing I think I need to do? Because trims don't actually go out that far. Is this all a bust? The very last thing I need to do because this is not actually possible at the scale I need to do it at? I know there's a video about how to use these things. I'm just gonna look up storage drawers trims. Wood trim. Thankfully there's a wiki. Connecting 2 or more solid sets of storage drawers with trim will allow them to act as one unit and therefore interact with the same controller modules. That doesn't tell me what I need to know. Because it should just be able to, like, throw it into here, right? But it's stuck in the hopper. Storage drawers, complete guide. From, there's an ad. Skip. From 3 years ago. We'll look at not half storage drawers, storage designs, how to use storage drawers, drawer key, quantify key, concealment key, storage drawer upgrade, storage downgrade, void upgrade, conversion upgrade, redstone upgrade, mini redstone upgrade, min redstone upgrade, max redstone upgrade, illumination, fill, special blocks. Hey, look at special blocks. Store controllers, which connect everything. Do I have to use a controller? The other controller thing? Do I have to use this one? How? It just says it connects it. So do I need the other controller? Or is it because I'm just being silly about this and it's facing the wrong way? No. No, they're still stuck. Is it because you're no longer connected to a thing that's correct? Let me try instead. I want to see if it's literally just, it's connecting the wrong way. And I'll instead connect this one to that. What if I take this and put it by hand into the front of this? It won't take it. So it doesn't know it's connected. Is there a spot where this doesn't actually connect up? You're fine. So it just says it connects it, so theoretically it should connect it across any distance, right? That's all connected. That's fine. And it's all connected all the way down here. So why is it not working? You're connected to the rice. You are literally directly connected to it, so why can I not do that? Why is this not the case? What? 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 Is this not possible? I should have tested this against a longer range. Why is it not possible? Why is this not the thing that it is? Do I have to hopper system this entire bullshit? And just put one controller under the ground and hopper chain all of this? Do I really have to hopper chain? I might have to hopper chain all this. I might have to hopper chain all of this. Do I really need to do another stream? This was supposed to be the last stream. This is supposed to be the last. I need Penguin. I need someone who understands how these fucking work. Because by my knowledge, this should be perfectly acceptable. But it isn't working. Okay, we're going to a copy. We're going to a copy of world. We're going to a world. We're going to a world. I'm gonna figure out why, what, when, where. Is this even possible? You can see me testing this. This was me testing it, and it linked up like this. And it should still be just fine. Granted, this wasn't nearly as long of a distance. But should be just fine. That it goes... Let me... Did I go boop? No? It's not taking anything. If I do something right there, we'll take. If I grab some more gunpowder. And grab... I have the quantify key. Boop. Now it will take. So how far is too far? That's close enough, apparently. What? No? Is it not? It went into the country. is holding gunpowder. So it's actually holding an item now. Hello, welcome. We are attempting to figure out modding because apparently I don't know how. I wanted to hook up the entirety of my Megabase. We're on a copy of the world because I don't know how this works. We're trying to connect up the entirety of all the farms of my Megabase to one room, and apparently I don't know how the storage drawers work. So what do you mean? I just want to put a few in there. Did that connect up correctly? No. No, it has not. Wait, no. Did it? I saw that go up. Do you stream daily? It has been daily this week, but that's mainly just for this project, although I'm trying to stream pretty much daily at this point. Although it's a bit later than I normally like to, which is why I'm trying to figure this out, but it's not working. Okay, instead of having to do this every time, we're gonna slowly move this closer until it works. Because that thing over there should see this and then start throwing gunpowder into it. That's how it's supposed to work. I see, I wish you good luck ahead. Thank you. What do you mean? How sure is this actually? And do I have to do the shitty method that I didn't think I needed to do, but apparently I need to do? Oh my... You should have seen it by now. Why haven't you seen it? You see that it has 6 gunpowder, but you haven't thrown in the rest of the gunpowder. Okay, hold on. Apparently I should have been trying this every single time through this. Is it custom made? The mod? I have not made the mod, no. I made the Megabase, I made the builds. Let me, like, spread this out so I can use a little more of it. Let's put one piece over here. And make sure I have the quantify. So I can actually see at a glance the change. So now it recognizes that I have 2 now. So this is within range. So how far is the range? So I'm standing at, this is X3. This is all the way over at 26. So that's a range of 23. So why does it not see... How far does this go? We need a ham. Where's a little ham? There's a little ham. We're gonna go across this entire thing. Because I'm going insane at this point. What do you mean this works? I'm off the server. Alright. Have a good night, Billy Bob. We're gonna try. Quantify key. So there's 1 gunpowder in there. If the controller's connected, it should tell me there's 1 gunpowder. So why does it not work on the server? Is your model custom made? I made it. I'm probably gonna make I want to make a new one at some point, but I haven't had the time for it. Want to learn how to do a 3D model at some point. I'm not sure how well that'd work. I know I want to do something different for him, though. Although at this point, with what I've learned of 2D modeling, I might have a better time getting the effect I want out of a 2D model and just going really ham on it. Maybe I could help you with that? No thanks. If you, with all due respect, if you come here simply to try and advertise yourself, this is not the space for that. You are welcome to stick around for the content, but this is not the space for that. I am a graphic designer. I have learned everything everything on my channel I have made myself. Okay, so I don't want to give it all. I don't want to give it everything. I just want to give it 1. Quantify it. Does the controller recognize it? It no longer recognizes it. Okay, we found almost the limit. So we're quite a ways away at this point. Let me try. This is 36. So I might not have to hopper chain as much as I think. Let's try 20. Pop a piece of gunpowder in. Because at this point, 6 gunpowder. Did you start putting gunpowder into this? Yes, yes you did. Okay. So it recognizes it from here. Let's try 30. Does it? No. No. So it's between 20 and 30. Let's try going down to... This is 25. Let's grab. Place. Do you know that the gunpowder exists? No, you do not. So what is the range here? We're going to go down to 23? Or X23. This is not 23 blocks away. It knows that it's there. So we know it's not 25. Let's try 24. Because 23 is within range. It recognizes 24. And I'm going to double check that 25, in fact, does not work. And it is just out of range. Just out of range. So it can go all the way out to this point. At which point I'm going to need to do a hopper chain. Like this, and get it going again. And assumingly... Can I do it like this and continuous hopper chain it? No, I need to have another controller. Which should put it down to there. So, this is at negative 24. And over here is at 26, so it's 50 blocks. I have 50 blocks to work with before I have to start chaining. So that's a lot more than I thought it'd be. It's a lot less than I need. So now we know. I am standing at 56, so I can go all the way over to 106 is where this cuts off. Assumingly it's counting the distance and not the trims. If it's counting the trims themselves, oh, not 56, it'd be 6. So it's about here that it cuts off again. So, do I have any extra? No, I don't. I have another controller, though. That connects, and I do this, and have it all connect. And I don't have to hopper chain, and I could just put a bunch of controllers about. No, it's still here. Do that, maybe? It might be just average. If I put a controller in the middle of all this BS... What if I could just control... What if I just connect these? What if I just connected these? Would that extend the range and actually make these connect and send things off accordingly? Still no. But if I switch this instead to do this, we change this to do that, which is the same function that we wanted prior. This controller doesn't recognize that it's hooked up to anything, because it's still not, actually. Because it's still technically not. So let's get rid of these. It still doesn't recognize that it's connected to anything, though. Only this controller over here recognizes that it actually has anything. So... I'm thinking what I need to do. I'm gonna take all this. We're just gonna make one pipe chain. I'm gonna put something there. That's gonna connect down this way. All the way down here. And quickest way out of here is gonna be back. I need an empty storage drawer. And I only have trims on me. I want to get this done this stream. I don't know if it's gonna happen though. I spent so much time decorating. And I really should, and I just want to confirm, would this be the fix? If it is, I can do a short stream tomorrow morning, and maybe I can get this video out at a good time. It might be a day late, but if I could get this out at all at this point. I just need to know if this is possible. If not, then I can confidently end the video and say, hey, I can't fucking do it. But if I can, I'm gonna do my damnedest to make it work. Because I already made sure I could have this roundabout solution, and that the roundabout solution would work. Now I actually gotta test and make sure that this indeed works how I think it can. Oh, there's a chicken jockey. Out of here. Well, this doesn't even have a polluting. I guess I have lava chicken now. I don't care about lava chicken. I care about my stupid rice factory. Wait. Did it work? Is it working? It's trading into here. But is it trading all the way over? You can't blow up my shit. Not right now. Not right now. Not when I'm this close. Do we even... Okay. It's probably gone to about right here, so I need to throw that. Yes! 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 Please. Please, for the love of stars. For the love of fucking stars. Don't... Out of my fucking way. Out of my way. If this has in fact worked, I'm gonna be so goddamn happy. Please. Please, for the love of stars. I can go to bed happy. I can end stream right here and we can pick it up tomorrow. Is there... Are you connected? You say you are, but are you sending stuff through? Are you sending stuff through? You know, are you sending stuff through? You act like you are. This piece of rice go. It is! I can see the number go up. Number go up. The dopamine hit. Number get big. Number get big. Yes. Okay. I can go to bed happy. We figured out the problem. I can solve this tomorrow. I can solve this tomorrow morning. I'm fine with that. I'm okay. I don't care that my base is left a mess. We do a very short stream tomorrow, and we solve this. Okay, because I need to go to bed. And then I will do my damnedest to actually get my ass out of bed on time tomorrow morning. I haven't been good at that. I could do it. I could do it. This is why I didn't finish the script. This is why I didn't finish the script for this video, because you never know what's going to happen. But now we can finish up tomorrow. This is supposed to be the last day. Surprise, we're going to have another day. So there's going to be another VOD that I got to get up on in the upload. That's fine. I don't care, because we're going to get it all done on time. It's fine. So we're going to go... I'm sorry if that got double audio. No, I still have my browser muted. We're fine. It's okay. It's fine. I could do it. This is why I like streaming. I may be crazy, and I am indeed fucking crazy, because that is... You don't have to be smart to be a genius. I said this earlier. I'm standing by that opinion. You don't have to be smart to be a genius. Okay. We're gonna finish up stream. I need to do all the things. And calm my ass down, because I'm way too hyper. I'm gonna blame the tea. Which I still have not finished. I might stay up late, honestly, just to finish it. Okay. Calm my ass down. I'm okay. I'm just very excited. Okay. That'll be it for this stream. We're gonna go raid out Wolfie. Wolfie plays Minecraft. She is another member on the SMP and a good friend of Misty's, friend via a friend, so we're gonna go raid her out on her stream. Until then, there will be another stream tomorrow morning, and all live notifications always go out to the Discord. My socials have a bunch of screenshots. There's going to be screenshots and build posts every day for the next week or so, a little over a week. And the VODs go up on the second channel, which is also below. Unless you're already here on the VOD channel, then hi, hello. Thanks for making it this far into the video. A lot of you don't, so I really appreciate it when you do. And of course, when this is all said and done, tomorrow I'm literally just going to spend the day editing, and hopefully we could get this video out on time. I'm going to do my best to do it. There's the main channel. It has all the main videos. And I think that's it. So thank you all for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. We're gonna go raid Wolfie. Wolfie plays Minecraft. We're gonna go raid her out. What do you mean about? Did I spell wrong? Yes, I did. Let's fix that. I did Wolfie. There we go. Do not allow you to raid at this time. Okay, never mind. Then we'll just end our stream. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you in the next one, aka tomorrow morning. If you're watching the VODs, then it will still be tomorrow morning, because then the VOD's gonna be up the next day.